Hello, members of the Doctoral Students Association. I'm Roman Koshykar. I'm the Computing and Information Sciences Librarian and Graduate Services Coordinator at the RIT Libraries. And today I'm going to give a brief presentation on using and accessing library resources from off-campus. Many of us during the spring and summer of 2020, most of us during the spring and summer of 2020 have been working from off-campus as the RIT campus is mostly closed at this time. The other librarians and I, in March, when the spring semester resumed, started receiving quite a few questions about how to access our library's many online resources from off-campus. And we've found that there are, we've always known that there are effective ways to do this. So that's kind of lesson number one, is that you have always had the ability all along to access library resources from outside of RIT itself. So this is something that you can do and can continue to do when you are working at home on the weekend, for instance. So let me begin sharing my screen here. Okay, and we are looking at the RIT Library website now. So our library provides a tremendous amount of online material for your reading, your research, and your scholarship. We have nearly 250 subscription databases. You can go to search collections, databases, providing thousands and thousands of ebooks, journal articles, conference papers, streaming videos, theses and dissertations, and the list goes on. The good news is that everything can pretty much be accessed right from the library's webpage. We actually use a rather unsophisticated but effective method of IP authentication to allow access to our resources. When you were working on campus, when I was working in the library, your IP address is at RIT, and access to all of these subscribed resources is seamless. But when you're off campus, your IP address is not at RIT. Now, if you connect via RIT's VPN client, you are routed through RIT's IP system, but library resource subscriptions do not recognize this as authentication, so you cannot rely on the VPN connection. How do you authenticate? In other words, how do you prove that you are an RIT student? You authenticate by proxy when entering from an off-campus IP address. It's quite simple to do this. I will demonstrate all you need to know during this presentation. But before I proceed, as a side note, I just want to remind everyone that you have access to library resources while you are enrolled at RIT. An authorization to use most of these resources will end after graduation. You can contact the library for information on what you can access as an RIT alumni post-graduation if you're interested. Right now, while you're studying, while you're working towards your dissertation, the good news is it's all available for you directly through our website. And that really is the preferred method that I'm going to recommend and focus on, is to access whatever you're going for. Begin your search directly at the library's website. You can search for RIT libraries. You can go directly to library.rit.edu. If you search our Summons search tool, you can immediately generate a large number of results. You'll see the following message in the upper right corner, and I hope everyone can see that. It says, off-campus, log in to access full text and more content. Well, that sounds promising, and certainly if I click on that, I get this RIT login screen, log in to EZProxy at rit.edu. So this is that proxy authentication that I was mentioning before. Because I started in a library resource on the library website, I can enter my username and password. This is the same username and password as you would use for your RIT email account and for my courses. And now I don't see that off-campus message anymore. It's a link back to the RIT Library website. So this is successful. I'm authenticated. If you do this from your computer, wherever you're working, you're authenticated. You can download subscribed resources from wherever you're working. Let me restart a session so that I can kind of clear that out. You can also do this going directly from a library database. So you can change the search from Summon to databases. I'll go to the IEEE Explore database. Now, click the link from this results page. This is going through our database finder tool. It's another subset of the library website, and the links will be routed through that ezproxy.rit.edu authentication. So click that. Once again, I see RIT login through EZProxy, and I will log in once again with my own username and password. And here I see an RIT Libraries logo. And I see access provided by Rochester Institute of Technology. So once again, successful. I am authenticated. I can download all subscribed articles from the IEEE Explore database now that I have done that. And this method will work with any of those other 250 some databases as well. So that is the preferred method. It's quite simple. If you remember to begin your searching from the library website, you can get to these proxy authenticated links, and you can enter your username and password when prompted. But if you must start your search from elsewhere, the most likely source that you will do that is Google Scholar. So on our InfoGuides page, this is where the other librarians and I publish information on how to do various kinds of library research and use various kinds of library tools. And we do have a guide for using Google Scholar. That's infoguides.rit.edu/Google Scholar, accessing library resources through Google Scholar. And this first page of the guide tells you how to connect to RIT subscriptions through Google Scholar. So follow these instructions to set up your settings in Google Scholar. These settings are specific to each device and each browser you use. So you may need to set them up more than once if you are searching and using more than one device or searching from different browsers. But if you follow these instructions, it's quite simple, and I actually have some icons that show you how to do that. That will insert these links that say more at RIT. The library links may not work each and every time, so it is not as preferable as going directly to our website, searching through Summon, searching through one of our direct links to our subscribed databases, but it does work most of the time. The other thing you can do is consider using a browser plugin, such as the Google Scholar button. Okay, so you get the benefits of Google Scholar from a convenient button in your browser. You can install this for Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. And it also does a few other things too. Find full text in the web or in your university library. That's what we want. But you can also take advantage of some other things. You can forward your searches to Google Scholar from a general search as well. And I do also want to go back and emphasize, you really do need to use this method from Google Scholar rather than google.com. So if you're using the Scholar button, that's a way to kind of remember that as well. You might also consider using Unpaywall. Unpaywall will help you search for open access versions of articles. And the upside here is that Unpaywall will even be more helpful after you graduate, because open access is not tied to any institutional subscriptions such as we provide through the RIT library. Or you may also want to try using Kopernio. Kopernio is a utility that you can install. It requires registration. It requires its own login information. It's not tied to your RIT account, but it is compatible with Google Scholar, as well as with several library databases. So if you're interested, take a look, install it, sign up and register, and see if it is right for you. Now, also on the InfoGuides page, there is buried in my guide on using Zotero, there's a trick just for Zotero users. So on the page labeled Connecting to Resources, infoguides.rit.edu/Zotero/connect. You can configure Zotero if you are a Zotero user. If you're not, consider using it. It's very helpful for writing and citing in Google Docs and in Microsoft Word. But you can also use Zotero to connect to RIT subscribed resources. The Zotero connector in Chrome and Firefox can be configured to go to directly to that EZProxy link. So if you are not necessarily going to go through the library's website, you can still use proper proxy authentication as a Zotero user. And you can also configure what is set up in a roundabout way with those Google Scholar library links. You can connect to what we call our open URL resolver. Instructions are posted here. So if you are a Zotero user, give this a try. I think it may be helpful for you. You may be wondering if it's ever possible to use RIT's single sign-on utility. I've been talking a lot about using your username and password through EZProxy, but that's not necessarily that single sign-on that you would use to get into other kinds of things that happen on campus. Usually you cannot use RIT's single sign-on utility to log into library resources, even if you are logged into something else, such as My Courses. However, there are a few instances where it is enabled and actually required for access. And if we go to our databases page, one of those resources is called Skillsoft, offering thousands of instructional videos and ebooks. So if you click on this link, it does not go to EZProxy. It goes to the Shibboleth single sign-on instead. And I'm already logged in, so it's just going to automatically go through with that. So because I was already logged in, it actually worked pretty well. If I close my session, though, and reopen, there is another source, and that is LinkedIn Learning, that does require single sign-on login. So now it says RIT login, but I'm not logging into EZProxy, I'm logging into LinkedIn. So it's direct. Looks the same, but it's using some different technology in the background. What are the benefits to doing this? Well, your authentication via single sign-on allows the resource to create a personal profile for you. So these two sources allow that. And with LinkedIn Learning, actually, you can track your own progress and the courses you've watched. You can set up favorites. You can create playlists of courses to watch for self-training. And you can also connect your RIT LinkedIn Learning account with your personal LinkedIn profile. So that is where this would come into play. So it is kind of, to the user, it looks a little different, but it's actually doing things slightly differently. But the important thing to notice there is that, once again, I'm starting at our library website to do that. You will need to log on via single sign-on even from on campus. A login is always required for Skillsoft and LinkedIn Learning. So it doesn't have that seamless, I'm looking at your IP address and you are in your academic building or in the library when those reopen. But if you enter Skillsoft or LinkedIn Learning from the library website, remember to search for them as databases here, then you'll be guaranteed to be sent to the proper login screen. So to wrap up, I'd just like to point out a few things that you should not do. The first thing I've already mentioned, and that's try to use the RIT VPN to search for library resources. Now, use of the VPN is very helpful for other things, such as accessing secure file shares that may be running from on campus. But due to some changes that ITS made in the spring of 2020, VPN connection does not work to authenticate to subscribed library resources. So it doesn't matter if you are connected using the VPN or not. You still want to go to the library website, and you still want to go to Summon or one of the databases and log in that way. Or you can follow those instructions I sent on the guide for searching with the Google Scholar library links. But what you don't want to do is search google.com for the name of a database or journal. When you're off campus, the website of the database or the journal will not be able to tell that you are an RIT student if you just enter through Google. So always search the library website instead. And remember, we have this databases tab to search for a database, such as IEEE Explorer, the example I used. You can also search for an individual journal. So if I search, change the tab to Journals and search Nature, it gives me the access that we have to Nature, and here it is from 1997 to present to the current issue in Nature Journals Online. And if I go to that, it is connecting me via EZProxy because I was already connected because it's still the same browser session. But now I can read articles from the journal Nature, from, in this case, from my home. So, follow the links from the results found by searching the library website, and these will authenticate you by proxy. This is the simplest, most surefire way to authenticate to our resources when you are working from off campus. So if you ever have any questions about this issue, or if you want to learn more about these research sources as you conduct literature searching and work on reading the things that you need to read, you always have the ability to connect with your librarian. Just click on Meet Your Librarian on the library website. Those of you who are in the Computing and Information Sciences PhD, you can contact me as I serve as your subject librarian. If you're in the engineering PhD program, you can contact our engineering librarian. If you're in mathematical modeling or imaging science or color science or one of these other PhD programs, most likely you would go to our sciences and health sciences librarian for assistance. So if you don't know us yet, then please do get to know us. And that's really all I have prepared for you today. I hope that this has been informative and that we can connect again in the future. So thank you for this invitation from the Doctoral Students Association. I look forward to being able to be back in the library soon. We don't know when, but the good news is you can still use all of these resources from wherever you are working.